I'm excited. Christy can't join us today. She's actually running a 5K in the Outer Banks. So it was a goal of hers. I want to do this. And her girlfriends are making it happen this weekend. So I'm proud of her for having a goal and hitting it, which is awesome. So we'll be sharing private. But you know what? This is my baby. So when it comes to private money lending, this is my part of Christy and I's business. This is what I love to do. And if anyone ever asks, hey, like, are you an expert house flipper? I would say no, because to be an expert at anything, they say you got to do it like 10,000 times or something like that to be an expert. But this I have done 10,000 times. I've practiced elevator pitches 10,000 times. I've spoken in front of hundreds of people teaching this stuff 10,000, hundreds of times. So I know this in and out. So I feel like this is kind of becoming my superpower, and what's cool about private money, when you say superpower, so, to real estate investors, the ability to raise capital like this is probably just as important to Superman being able to fly, or Captain America having their shield, or Wonder Woman having the lasso of truth. For real estate investors, this skill set and the tools I'm going to share with you when it comes to private money lending are just as valuable, if not more valuable. So a couple things about private money, like as I go through this presentation, and some of you will probably attend this webinar and be like, man, I attended this because I want to learn how to raise capital and how to get funding. But now after hearing this, like, I see that there's an opportunity for me to become a private money lender. So really, as I go through some of this stuff, and hopefully I have enough time to go through everything, but we're going to be doing this on a monthly basis, talking about these topics, you're going to learn both sides of the coin, right? So there's heads, there's tails, and our job as investors is to be on the edge of that coin so we can see both sides of it. And the real superpower here, guys, is not being able to fund our deals. That's the goal. Like, the goal is, and this is really, really important with private money lending and raising capital for your business. The goal is to be able to pick up the phone, secure funding in a heartbeat. The goal is to walk into a seller's home, shake their hand, look them in the eye, make them an offer, and know exactly where you're getting the money from to fund your flip with 100% confidence. So, like, that's the goal. But the real superpower, and this is huge, is having the mindset that we're helping people. And we're helping people, our lenders, make great rates of return on their money. And our superpower is being great borrowers. Our superpower is becoming great borrowers and helping people make great rates of return on their money. So just keep that in mind. And if you're on Facebook and you're looking at social media, it drives me bonkers sometimes when people are like, they share about themselves so much, or they say, hey, look at this deal I just did. We made 50 grand or whatever, and that's great for them. 2 claps. We support that. We root on other people. But if you ever look at any of Christy or I's posts, it's always about our lenders. And we have people lined up around the corner wanting to lend us money for our flips more than we want to do. Sometimes we do flips because people are like, please put my money to work. And you feel like kind of obligated in a sense. And I hope that if that's your goal, you get to that point. But just keep in mind, our goal is to help people make great rates of return on their money. And we do that by becoming great borrowers, right? So just know that moving forward, that's the mindset. And we'll talk a lot about that. Anytime that I teach classes like this from stage or on webinars or whatever, there's 2 slides I always cover, and they're really, really important, especially for this topic. The first one being earnings disclaimer. So like if I share with you, if I asked you, I said, hey, would you want me to make up case studies, or do you want real life examples? I'm sure you'd say, hey, show me the real life stuff. And that's what I'll do. So just keep in mind, anytime I show a deal that I've done, or a lender has lent on, like, it's not guaranteed. What's cool about real estate is no piece of real estate is exactly the same, and no real estate deal is exactly the same. No investor is exactly the same. You're shaking your head, so you get this. I know you do. So So just keep in mind, there's a lot that can go wrong. And I'll tell you, one of the things, Stacy Rossetti came to me and said, hey, if you could teach one topic, what would it be? And I was like, you know what? Like, I really feel like there's a need for private money education right now, because I've met so many people, and a lot of them were close friends of mine who lent money and didn't have these steps in place, and they lost. And I hate to see that. I hate to hear that. So I've kind of like putting on the cape and trying to become an advocate to teach this, how to do this the right way on both sides, as a lender and as a borrower, so that we can create those win-win situations. So this is risky. The second slide I always show is just, hey, I'm not a real estate attorney. I'm not a CPA. I'm not a real estate agent. I'm not a contractor. I'm not licensed in anything. I don't even know how they let me in the building sometimes, right? But what I'm very, very good at, and you can be great at this too, is learning how to surround myself with really smart people and surround myself with those professionals to help us in this business. And one of the biggest obstacles that I found that a lot of new investors struggle with is feeling like they have the credibility to ask for the money, or feeling they have the credibility to talk to a contractor, especially if they're new. And so when it comes to credibility, one of the things I'm going to teach you is how to leverage other people's credibility and years of experience. And that's so important. So I always cover these two slides, and I know what some of you might be thinking. You might be thinking, Noah, we get it. It's risky. You're not an attorney. Get to the meat and potatoes. Show me the nuts and the bolts. And here's what I'll tell you. This is the meat and potatoes. This is the meat and potatoes. So I'm going to share with you 7 tips to establishing credibility. And I'm going to go through this as quickly as I can, because I know this is recorded. I'm on site. I'm in one of my Airbnbs right here. So I'm going to be as efficient as I can. But this is big. Tip number 1, surround yourself with the right professionals. So if you're a brand new investor, even if you're brand new, I still do this to this day. I pump up my team so much. And so it's really important, like wherever you're doing your closings, whether it's a title company or you have a real estate attorney that's drawing up your documents, before we go and talk to someone about money, let's figure out who that person is. Who is the person that's going to be drawing up this paperwork and the documents and doing the mortgage and doing the promissory notes, right? Who are the people that are going to be listing our houses when we go to sell them? Who are the people that are going to be doing the work and the contractor stuff in the properties when we're doing our fix and flips? And so if someone came to me and said, hey, look, I don't have, how much experience do you have? How many times have you done this? And if I was brand new and I hadn't done it ever before, I might say, hey, you know what? This is my first time. However, my real estate attorney, he's been doing this 20 years. My contractor is licensed, insured. He's been doing this 25 years. My real estate agent, they're the best in the business. They're one of the top 1% here in Colombia. They're awesome. They're on my team too. And so on and so forth, right? Financial advisors, our accountants. So to help establish credibility right out of the gate, it's so important that we surround ourselves with these really smart people so that they're going to be doing a lot of the work anyways. We're just kind of managing the project, right? So this is a great way to establish credibility right out of the gate. And have the mindset too. Like if we had time, like I would take you through this exercise and all this, but I'm going to share with you something like a little mindset shift, paradigm shift. If I asked you like, hey, how many different ways are there to fund a real estate deal? Like if you had a project and you needed $100,000, like what are all the resources that a person could use to get the cash to buy that house and to pay for those renovations? And you probably come up with a list that looks something like this, right? Retirement accounts, equity lines, right? Cheap rates for borrowing money, so on and so forth. What a lot of people don't realize is that these are also great avenues for lenders. And 9 times out of 10, I'll meet someone that says, hey, I want to buy a piece of real estate. I'm like, great. What's your goal? I want to make a 10% rate of return on my money. I want to have a rental property. Okay, cool. Do you have any experience in this? No. What were you planning on using for funding this deal? And 9 times out of 10, it's usually something on that left-hand column. And I'll say, well, have you ever thought about lending? Have you ever thought about going the lending route? I pay 10% rate of return on your money. I handle all the projects, so you don't have to worry about anything. And we learn all the different ways a person can get access to money. And then if to become really good at this, remember, we're here to help people make great rates. You educate them. So, I would practice this and just kind of say, hey, like if you're doing wholesales now and you're selling to cash buyers, or someone's interested in a rental property, hey, what's your goal with this rental? I want to make a great rate. Oh, did you know that you could do that? So learning as much as we can about this topic and then educating people, I think, is a great way to go, especially if you're just starting out. And most of Christy and I's lenders have never lent before meeting us. So 9 times out of 10, we're taking them and we're saying, hey, did you know that you could do this? I know you're interested in real estate, but did you know there's other avenues for you to be hitting your goals that don't involve as much work on your part? And they're like, no, I didn't know that. Tell me more. And then we take them through this process. So I'm going to share with you here. Okay. Okay. So here we go. And this isn't the end all be all, but with private money, I love private money. I would much rather pay someone that I've built a relationship, a little bit more interest, and not have to go through the hassle of everything that a hard money company does or a bank does. You guys, I'm all about easy breezy, whatever's easy. I'll pay a little bit more and help someone make a great rate of return on their money if I don't have to go through the long drawn out. I've been with the same bank for 15 years, but if I have to I still have to fill out all the same paperwork every time. They know me. It's like, yeah, you're shaking. It's like, come on, you know me, right? So here's why we love our lenders. Number one, they can act fast, right? So it puts us in the competition of being a cash buyer when we're making our offers. You guys know that the rates are negotiable. And what's cool is when I meet someone who's new to private money, I'll always ask them like, hey, how's your money working for you now? And if the person says, well, it's just sitting in a savings account, I'm trying to figure out what to do with it, I know that they're making 0.5%, 1%, and they would be so excited to be making maybe 7, 8, 9, right? If someone's like, well, the market's up and I've got, Bitcoin, if they're a little bit more savvy with their money and they know what they manage it maybe themselves and they're on top of things, they're smart with finances and stuff, then I might have to approach it with, well, we pay anywhere from 8 to 12% rate of return. So I'm still piquing their interest, and then I'll get into some other things like how it's secured and things like that. So it's relationship driven. All right. Credibility tip number 3, mindset is everything. We talked about this, and you'll never see anyone fund a deal on their hands and knees praying like to the lender, like, please let me get some money. Like so we're not desperate here. We got to adapt that mindset of, hey, you know what? This is an opportunity for you because I don't know where you could make a 10% rate of return and have it secured by a piece of real estate that's 60, 70 cents on the dollar, right? And insured, which we'll talk about. So just know that, I always compare this to cats and dogs. If you're a dog and you take the golden retriever approach and you're just like licking them all over the place, jumping on them and, want them to throw the ball, no one's going to want to play with you. But if you're the cat and you come around the corner and you're like, oh, I really want to pet you, and you play hard to get a little bit, like, hey, I don't need your pets. I don't need you, right? It's nothing better than petting a cat that doesn't really like to be pet. You know what I mean? And when they finally come over to you, you're like, oh yeah, now you feel like you have this. So same thing, right? So we try to take that approach, that positioning of, what, I have something great, and I can help you out, right? And I'm on scene here, so I'll be I'll let you guys know. Like if the computer dies, email me. Write down my email right now. It's noah@revivecolumbia.com, and I have this presentation recorded, and I will email it to you within the next 60 minutes, just in case. Noah, Noah @revivecolumbia.com. Okay. Just in case, because we're at 4%. All right. So the idea here is we're going to create win-win scenarios. So this is a compounding interest graph. Okay. And I always have something like this handy, whether it's printed in a piece of paper that I could give someone to show them like rates and opportunities and opportunity costs of not doing business. So most of the time, I'll show this to someone and look at the left-hand column. It's 1%, right? So if your money's sitting in a bank and they can see over the course of the next 20 years, like, how is this even healthy or functional? Like this is crazy, right? And if someone's able to put their money to work at a higher rate of return, now this is compounded in a perfect world, nonstop, but you see the difference there between 1% and 12%. And then this goes back to the mindset thing, guys. The big difference oftentimes between a person making 1% and the person making 12% is us. It's us. It's our financial education. So have that mentality of like, hey, look, like I'm changing people's lives. I truly believe that. We have lenders we've worked with for 8 years who started out lending 30, 40 grand. And now they're, in the hundreds, almost 200,000. So these are some of the common terms when I'm doing loans. And what's cool is you can set them up however you want to set them up. But what we do is we do 8 to 12%, but it's simple interest annualized. So what that basically means is if we have someone's money for the entire year, that's a 12-month period at 12%, they're going to get the full 12%. If we have their money for 6 months, then that's half. So they would, in this example, it would be like a 6% rate of return, not the full 12 because it's annualized, right? You'll see the terminology of points with shorter term turnaround loans. If I know a project's going to take 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, it'll be tougher to show the value of having someone cash out a mutual fund to lend you private money if they got to pay fees, taxes, and then they're doing the math. If they're doing the math in their head and they're like, well, if you only have my money for 3 months, that's like 3%. That's not really worth it. In that instance, I would say, well, on top of that, I'm going to give you 2 or 3 points or 1 or 2 points, which is a percentage of the loan. So it gives them a little bit more money. And what's cool is if the deal goes well and it takes 2 or 3 months, well, we can turn right around and do it again and do points again. And oftentimes that rate of 8 to 12 can go up to maybe 10 to 16 or 10 to 18, depending on how many times we can turn it. So that's some of the value of being able to offer your lenders points. All right, so I'm going to share this with you. So these are some common terms. Follow the rules. Follow the rules. So when we're doing private money loans, what we're doing is it's called taking on a debt position, because we give them a promissory note, we give them a mortgage for deed, right? So it's a debt position. We're not pooling funds. This isn't like a syndication where everyone has like an equity slice in the deal, things like that. And that's really important. And we don't advertise. So I wouldn't take out a